6th 11 during 6th 11 March 2023, organized by Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering and in association with Department of Emerging Technology in Computer Science and Microcare Academies. Now I request K. Haris Reddy to introduce today's speaker. Haris.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So today's speaker is Mr. Syed Mujamil Hussain, and Syed is a highly accomplished software manager with over 10 years of experience in the industry. He has proven track record of leading successful software development projects from conception to launch, with a keen eye for detail and a commitment to delivering high quality products. Throughout his career, Syed has built and managed large cross-sectional teams of software developers, designers, and engineers, leveraging his expertise in agile development methodology. Syed is also an expert in software architecture, having designed and developed complex systems that are scalable, maintainable, and efficient. Syed holds a bachelor's degree from MVIT College, Bangalore. Prior to his current role as software manager at Oracle, Syed worked for Infosys as team lead, held a variety of technical positions, including software engineer, team lead, and a technical support. Now I request today's speaker, Mr. Syed Mujamil Hussain, to start the session.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity given me to speak in front of so many new engineers that are going to have a great opportunity and a good career in front of them. I want to take this opportunity to help each of the new graduates to understand the different challenges that they're going to face in a software engineering. So one of the topics that I'm going to talk about today is DevOps. So before we talk about DevOps, I want you to understand why exactly this term DevOps came into picture. So before DevOps, what was the scenario? What all challenges a software company or as a software engineer, different teams, different organizations were facing? And then how does DevOps came into picture and what are the different things are there in DevOps? How is DevOps helping different companies to achieve short time to market, delivering different software, different products to market? So before we talk about DevOps, I want you to give a clear picture about software development life cycle. In software development life cycle, let's say if there is a company and there is a client who has reached out to this company and they want a software for their business, right? So what is the process that a software company follows to deliver a software product to this client who is running a business, and this clients want to go digital with his business? So he wants to reach out to more audience with this software. So what is the process that a company follows to develop a software, and where exactly does DevOps fits into this complete software development lifecycle? So software development lifecycle has different stages or phases. There are broadly classified 6 phases, and those 6 phases are plan, code, build, test, and release. Apart from this, you also have continuous deployment, operate, and monitoring. Once you deliver a software to your client, it's not the end of the software development lifecycle. So once you develop or deliver a software to the client, after that, you have to maintain, you have to scale. There are new requirements coming from the client. You have to add those new requirements to your software and make sure that you are monitoring the software without any impact to the users who are using this software. So all of this is a software development lifecycle. These are the different phases. As you can see on the screen, this is a cycle which starts from plan. So inside your planning phase, there are 2 again subcategories which are called as requirements gathering and design. So you reach out to the client who has asked for a software. You ask him what exactly he needs, right? Who will be the consumers of the software? what will be the requirement? Will the consumers use this software from a desktop or from mobile or a tablet? What is the requirement? So all of these requirements are gathered from the client. And once the requirement is gathered, company will come back, sit, and then they will design the user interface. And they go back to client again, and then they present this user interface and ask them, is it what you wanted? Once they confirm or approve that plan phase, company comes back again and starts development on that product. And once they finish development, now there are different methodologies here in the software development life cycle. Different companies follow different process for development. Back in the day, there was a process called as waterfall, but now most of the companies, almost all the companies, are following agile methodology for this. So they frequently go back to client and they will present them what they have accomplished on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis. They give update to the client saying that we have made progress, so much progress, and then they give them a short demo on how much they have completed. So there will be a back and forth conversation there. After your development is done, then you decide on where do you want to host your software, right? So you have different clouds nowadays. You have Amazon Cloud, you have Google Cloud, you have Oracle Cloud. So where you can put your software that you have developed, so that based on the client requirement, who will be the consumers of this product, the users of this software should be able to seamlessly access this product from anywhere. So that is where they decide in the build phase, how do they build their software, where do they put this software. And once they have done this, they also need to make sure that there is a different phases of testing. They have to test their software, right? So there is automation testing, there's manual testing, and there is user acceptance testing. You ask your client to test, you make sure that once the development is done, there are different opportunities inside a company where there are different testers who test your software. So this back and forth conversation happens between different teams, testing teams and development teams. So once they test it, now is the final time after the client has done or finished testing, which is called as UAT testing, user acceptance testing. Your client will sign a form which they will accept, they will approve that, yes, this is what we needed. We have got the complete requirement completed. We can go ahead and put this software into production where they will start marketing this product to their users, and then the users will start using the software. Once this is done, once the software is released, then you deploy this to production environment, and then back and forth conversation will happen between client and customer. And then they will reach out if there are any new requirements, new features, new enhancement that needs to be added to software. And from the company side, company needs to make sure that the software that they have recently launched, this should be 100% at all the times, 24/7. It should be up and running. There should not be any performance impact. There should not be any downtime. Suddenly the website should not stop working. So all of this monitoring will be done. So this is the complete software development life cycle that happens. The process or different stages that a software company follows to deliver a software. Now, once you understand this software development life cycle, now you can see there are different phases, right? So each team inside the company is responsible for completing this phase. So for plan, requirements, and design phase, there are different opportunities for different engineers. We call it as design engineers, right? So they go through different trainings, they go through different opportunities, and there are different career growth inside this phase, right? So development teams will do the development on different technologies, different technical stacks. So they have their opportunities there. And the support team or system engineers have opportunities for doing the configuration, build phase, and the automation. Or for testing engineers, we have roles or opportunities for testing as well, right? And then the system engineers will do the release, deployment, and all of these things. In all of these things, where exactly does DevOps fill in, right? Now, there are gaps between each of these stages where different people, sometimes different teams like testing system teams, software engineer teams, or development teams, they always have problems like who needs to handle a specific responsibility. Let's say, for example, once a developer finishes his development and developer says that I have completed my development. Now, who needs to take care of putting the new code that a developer has completed into the system so that testing team can test that new feature which a developer has finished. System engineer teams will say that it is not our responsibility to put your developer's code into the environment. Right? So this gap is where the DevOps came into picture to fill different gaps between different teams so that we can define which responsibility needs to be completed by which team so that there is a clarity. And also, can we automate this process? If there is a repeated process, can we automate this process, right? Every time a developer is finishing his development, this code needs to go into the environment. If it is a repeated step, every time same step has to be done, can we automate this process so that the code or the new development feature can directly go without any manual intervention? It can be put into the system so that testers can start testing for that feature. So that is where DevOps come into picture. Now, next, what we have here is we need to understand why do we need DevOps? So there are basically different questions we need to ask ourselves. What is DevOps? Why do we need DevOps? When do we need DevOps? For whom DevOps is needed? Where do we need DevOps? So these are the 5 questions that we need to answer ourselves so that we can thoroughly understand what is DevOps, so that as a new graduate, you can understand what opportunities you have and how do you become a DevOps engineer. So first question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is DevOps? Right? So DevOps will help different teams inside a software company. Like I just mentioned, there is a testing team, there's a development team, there is a database team, there is a support team. So all of these different teams, DevOps will help them to better communicate between each other so that they can understand what responsibilities they have. And also this DevOps process will help better collaboration and integrating all of these different stages through DevOps. Right? Let's say if a developer finishes his development, like I just gave an example, how do we put this code into the system without any manual intervention? This is one of the process, one of the gaps that usually companies face. And how do we take care of this process is what DevOps is all about. Right? So this term, DevOps, was carved from 2 words, development and operations. So they took these 2 words, development and operations, and then they said, let's call it DevOps. And then it will also help different stages in a software development lifecycle. So once the developer finishes the development, this code is not directly put into production, right? So it has to go through different phases where developer himself will validate the code, then the testers will validate the code, and then the clients will validate the code before it is sent to the production environment where the actual users can use this code. And nowadays, between different companies, there is a competition, like who can deliver a product in the shortest time. And this competition has given, because of this competition, this word has come into picture, right? So if there is a client which puts an option for the software that he wants, different companies will compete for this client so that they will say, I will deliver this software in 2 months. Some other company comes and says that I can deliver this software in 1 month. How are they committing to this timeline? That is where DevOps will help these companies to deliver their product time to market in the shortest period, right? And then it will also help within the company, different teams will have better relationship, right? They don't have to argue about who needs to take responsibility of different processes. Okay. And you can predict, you can be more proactive in terms of what problems you can face in the problem so that you can solve it in a less time. So this was about what is DevOps. Next question that we asked ourselves was, why do we need DevOps? So there was a research done back in the day between when this DevOps process started. It started like 6 years back in 2015 and 2016. A research company went to different companies and asked them this question: what problems they face when they need to deliver a software to the market, right? And different companies said that they need better collaboration between development and operations team. They also said that they need better quality for the products within a short period of time, and they need to deliver this software in a very short period of time, right? And then they need to understand what problems users are facing, right? And what are the different devices users are using to access their software. And then nowadays, a lot of companies are adopting to cloud. So how DevOps is going to help put their software into clouds, right? And then the infrastructure part, where a company has to decide where do they need to put their software. Do they put it into Linux server or Windows server? So all of these problems can be solved using DevOps. So once we answer why we need DevOps, we need to ask ourselves when exactly is this DevOps process comes into picture, right? So as we said already, if you need to continuously keep releasing different features to production, there should not be any manual intervention. So automatically you have to build using different tools. You can build a pipeline. We call it as a pipeline. Once a developer finishes his development, he puts his code into a repository. There are different repositories I'll talk about in some time. As soon as he pushes his codes to a repository, his code automatically there will be a pipeline, and this pipeline will trigger different phases of this DevOps cycle. And without any manual intervention, his software will go to different environments. And you can also automate your testing. You can automate different phases where it will ensure that whatever development a developer has done, there are not many problems with respect to development standards, static code analysis. Are there any security problems in your software? So all of this validation is done through DevOps. It also helps address problems for the end users when they are impacted because of any of the performance issues. You can track or catch any problems and then be proactive about it and solve those problems for the customer, right? And even if it is a small development change, even on the front end or the user interface, if you're only changing the look and feel of your website, you can still, without any impact, you can deliver those incremental changes to your software. So once we know when we have to do DevOps, can DevOps be done for different domains, right? So when we talk about a software, this software can be for a banking company. It can be for a e-commerce company. It can be for any government purpose software. It can be for manufacturing. It can be for entertainment industry. It can be for any domain, healthcare industry. All of these are called as different domains, and you can DevOps can be followed as a process for any domain. Okay, so this DevOps process is not for a specific company or not for a specific organization, and it is not for a specific domain. It is for everyone and every domain and every field. And the last question that we want to ask ourselves is, where do we need DevOps now, right? We talked about software development lifecycle, different phases. We talked about what is DevOps, what process we are following, but we need to understand how do we bridge the gap between different phases of a software development lifecycle. Right? Let's say, for example, there is a software which is hosted on a Linux server, and there is a system engineer who has to make sure that a Linux server will have a specific memory, and when the different users are logging in, let's say the software can handle only 100 users at a time. 100 users are logging in together. there will be a memory problem. So how does the system engineer knows that there is a variation in the memory consumption on this Linux server? And that is where DevOps comes into picture, where you can monitor the server for the memory consumption. And as soon as it reaches a certain threshold, like 80% or 90%, it can trigger certain notifications so that the system engineer can receive those notifications and immediately take action, add more memory, or make sure that there are no, he can add more memory or increase the scalability of the software so that there is no impact to the software. So being proactive, building and maintaining the server, right? And even if it is a new software, system engineers needs to make sure that they have to provision a Linux machine, they have to provision different storage, they have to provision network. So there is a lot of process that needs to be followed. It's a lot time consuming. So DevOps will help you use some of the tools, or you can use cloud to provision Linux servers and make your system engineer's job much easier. Next is maintaining different environments. Definitely, when a software is being developed, you don't directly publish the software to production. Each company maintains different environments. You have development environment where developers are continuously deploying their changes, whatever they are making. There is a test environment. There is a staging environment. So you can maintain as many environments as you want. And it takes few minutes to provision these environments, and once you build this pipeline, it's easy to deploy your software within minutes. Back in the day, I still remember in 2013, 2012, when I joined software company, we used to do so much process just to deploy a simple change from a developer into the testing environment. It used to take at least 1 day. So the testers has to wait for one whole day from the development to where they can start testing. Nowadays, it takes a few minutes. As soon as the developer finishes his development, immediately the testers can start testing their code. So that is achieved. That slow deployment is now gone. So it takes very few minutes now for deployment. And the responsibility, since you have automated this process, nobody needs to discuss or debate about who needs to deploy or who needs to take care of this continuous deployment to different environments. And configuration, you can easily change configurations using different DevOps tools. So that if you have to increase the memory, or if you need to provision more memory, storage memory, or the RAM memory, or if you need to go to different environments from Linux server to Windows server, all of those have become very simple now. I hope you have got a little bit idea about what is DevOps. All the operations or the processes between a developer until the point where you can push your software into different environments is where DevOps come into picture. And these were the different questions that we asked, and we want to understand, or we should be understanding that how DevOps is going to help, to whom it is going to help, where is it actually introduced, and all of those things. There is a usual misunderstanding between DevOps and cloud. Cloud and DevOps are two different things, right? Usually people think that cloud itself is DevOps, or DevOps is and clouds are interchangeably, they can be used. Just understand that clouds and DevOps are two different things. They are not the same, right? So the answer to that question is no. DevOps and cloud are two different things, but nowadays there are clouds like Amazon, Google, Oracle, who are providing some of the services or tools. They have come up with tools which will help you achieve some of the processes inside this DevOps space. We will see what all the different tools we have. How do you become a DevOps engineer? So what is, again, to clarify some of the things, DevOps is not just about combining whatever are the responsibilities of a development team and an operations team, right? It is in between these two things. whatever processes are required between a development and the operations team. So all of those different responsibilities between these two teams is called as DevOps. It's not like just combining all the things that a developer does and an operations team does. It's not DevOps, right? And it's not a separate team. Each team has to take up, development team and operations team has to take up some of the shared responsibilities, so that they can take responsibilities and complete these different operations. And DevOps is not just about tool. It's not a single tool, and there is no tool called DevOps, but it's a process. And each company has their own. We have what we, from my experience, each company development team and operations team sit together, and then they define what are the different processes they need to automate or they need to follow, so that development team and operations team can share these responsibilities. So it's not like there is a fixed or decided approach for every company. Each company decides their own how do they need to achieve DevOps. And DevOps is not just about automation. Yes, part of the things when a company is trying to achieve or trying to do something quickly, they will automate, but it's not always about automation. So this is the life cycle of a DevOps. This is the specific things that a DevOps team does. Let's say if you want to become a DevOps engineer, what all things you need to do to become a DevOps engineer, and then what all the things that happen today that as a DevOps engineer that you can do inside a company, so that you can follow this DevOps process, right? So step by step, what happens is once a developer completes its development, he pushes his code to a common repository. We call it as a code management or code repository. There are different tools for code management, right? We have GitHub, we have GitLab, we have Bitbucket. We back in the day we used to have Subversion, which we call it as SVM, which is a common place where if you have a team of 10 developers, somehow you need to track the development effort of all of these 10 developers and merge all the code together. So that is where one of the tools come into picture nowadays. Most of the companies are using GitHub. So a developer finishes his development and pushes his code to GitHub. From there on is where DevOps lifecycle starts. As soon as the developer pushes his code to GitHub, you need to write a pipeline. You can use whatever tool you need to choose. I'll show you different tools for different DevOps lifecycle. So as a DevOps engineer, you need to write pipelines. You need to use different tools. Most of the tools are open source. So companies usually choose open source tools so that they don't have to again spend a lot of money on automating or following this DevOps process. So let's say if a developer has pushed the code to GitHub, from there automatically inside the GitHub, you will do some configuration where you can write some triggers, or you can write a webhook, you can connect it to a different tool. And from the GitHub, let's say if you want to use Jenkins is a tool where you can literally write some code or scripting where you can write different stages. You take the code from the GitHub, which a developer has pushed his new code. You download that code and then you start checking the code for different phases, right? So that's what this is all about. So developer, if you see here on the screen, developer pushes the code is fetched from the code repository. You run some tests. Unit tests are nothing but, let's say if you are using Java or .NET, you need to make sure that the code flow is appropriate. And then you also scan your code just to make sure that the developer has followed all the standards following that specific language. And then you build the product. It can be a package for the software. Once you build this package, you need to put this package into a common place where some other tools which need to take this software package and then deploy it onto different environments. So then all of this process that I'm not talking about, most of the companies will automate, and it is the responsibility of the DevOps engineer to automate this process one by one. So this is all happening through automation. There is no manual intervention into these different stages, right? So developer committed his code. After that, all of this process should be automated, right? So all of this fetching the code, running the unit tests, scanning your code, which is called as static code analysis, building the package, storing the package, and then you are deploying this package into different servers, running some automation on this newly deployed software, and then moving your code from a development to a QA to a staging environment, and then finally to production environment. So all of this process used to take a lot of time before. It used to take days and sometimes weeks to complete this process, but nowadays it is taking very less time. And that is what is helping companies to deliver their product to market in a very short period of time. So these are the different categories. Continuous integration is where you have to integrate one tool to another tool, where you can create different stages and make sure that whatever changes are happening in the software are immediately deployed to your environment or a server, so that it can be released to production and you can deploy your software to different environments, their test stage, production, and you can release the software. Back in the day, there used to be manual testing. Now that also has become automated, where you're writing code to automate a product. If it's a web application, you can use different browsers. You don't know what the user is going to use. Sometimes some users will use Chrome browser, Firefox, Microsoft Edge or IE. So you need to automate your code and you need to be able to test your application through different browsers. Right? And then you need to follow a specific defined process. No matter which team, which software they are developing, they can all follow the same process. So basically, these are the 4 different categories inside DevOps. Right? And for example, like I just explained, you can build a package for a software. Once you build it, you should be able to deploy this either on Linux machine or Windows machine or any type of other servers. And then as soon as a developer commits the code, everything else should be automated, and you need to create a pipeline to make sure that this software change needs to be deployed to your production environment. And you need to make sure that you have different environments. There should not be any overlapping between different environments. A development team should use their own development environment. A testing team will only use their test environment to do testing. So all of this isolation needs to be maintained between different environments. You need to automate your deployment so that as soon as development finishes the development, it needs to go to test environment. From test environment, it has to go to stage and then production, one after the other. And that needs to happen based on a specific action. Right? So these are the different things which needs to be automated, where you need to make sure that there are no issues in your code. You thoroughly do a static code analysis, which is called as SCA. You can use different tools to do the static code analysis. Make sure the developer is following all the standards, no security problems. Nobody should be able to hack your software. All of those things can be automated. There are so many tools available nowadays, which you can use to achieve each of these items in your DevOps process. Right? Code coverage, static code analysis for security. There are so many security standards nowadays defined for your software. And there are tools provided which will do cross-scripting testing. And these tools will try to penetrate your software and see if there are any security problems. Performance, they will, let's say if you have built a software and you have deployed it on a server which has like 2 GB memory, and there are 500 users who are trying to use this software, the software will immediately break. Like it will consume, it needs more memory to support 500 users. So you can do performance testing. Your client will tell you, I need this software for at least 1,000 users at a time who can log into the software. So you can do your performance testing on the software. There are different tools again available where you can use these tools to put load on your software at a time for 1,000 users or 2,000 users. Literally manually, you can't do it. You need to have 1,000 users to allow 1,000 users to test your software, right? So, but there are tools which will put load directly, right? So you can automate your test cases through these tools. And whenever you are deploying your changes to production environment, users should not see any downtime, right? So you can use distributed system configuration so that when you're deploying to one server, you can use another server, right? So these are the different steps in DevOps process, and these are the different tools for each of the DevOps process. We have seen about building, we have seen about how to deploy, monitoring, continuous integration, continuous deployment. All of these are the DevOps process. There are so many tools available nowadays. You don't need to learn, or you don't need to worry about so many tools. In each phase, you can pick one tool and you can use that tool to build your DevOps pipeline, right? So for code management, you can see on the left-hand side bottom. For build, you can use GitHub, you can use GitLab, you can use Git, all of this. For automation testing, you can either use Selenium. So there are so many different frameworks or tools available for doing automation testing. For deploying, you have different clouds: Google Cloud, Microsoft Cloud, Amazon Cloud, Oracle Cloud, all of those things. And for continuous integration, you have Jenkins. For planning and designing your software, you can use this Lucid chart. You have Glyphy diagrams where you can design your software, right? And for monitoring and operations purpose, you can use all of these tools. So there are so many different tools available. You need to learn how to use this tool. And so that once you learn about these tools, when you go to a company as a DevOps engineer, they'll ask you to build a pipeline using different tools to achieve the continuous integration and continuous deployment. So that way, you can be a DevOps engineer to help companies deliver their software to market. So this is all about DevOps. DevOps designation or DevOps job has a lot of opportunity nowadays, and every company has opportunities for DevOps engineers so that they can deliver their software quickly to the market, right? Back in the day, to develop one software and then give it to a client, it used to take 6 months, 1 year. That time period has been reduced now because of all of this automation and following the DevOps process. Nowadays, you can deliver a software within few days, or if even if it's a complex software, you can still deliver it in a week or in a month by just following this DevOps process. All you have to do is finish your development. From after the development, everything is automated so that you can put your software, launch it into a server, and the users can start accessing your software. So this is all about DevOps. I hope you have an understanding about software development lifecycle and where exactly DevOps fit into that software development lifecycle. So anything and everything which is done, DevOps is just to summarize about DevOps, DevOps is a process to achieve better collaboration, communication, and to deliver your software in a least possible time to the market with a better quality. So this is all about DevOps. So let me know if you have any questions. I will try to answer your question to the best of my ability. Any question?
Participants are requested to ask any questions.
Feel free to ask if you have any questions. So the first question is, how much salary can be expected to be an DevOps engineer? So let me answer it in a different way. Let's say if you are a new engineer, right? You have just completed your graduation, and you have given interview for a DevOps engineer. Based on your experience, the package differs. Um, I have seen DevOps engineer getting the same package as a software engineer, and it depends from company to company, right? If it is a service company or if it is a product company, and from company to company differs, but we have seen for a with new DevOps engineer with a 1 year experience, you can expect anywhere between uh, 4 to 6 lakhs. And if you have like per annum, and if you are a DevOps engineer with experience like 2 years or 4 years experience, it will go up to 11, 12 years per annum. And if you have like 6, 8 years experience, then it will be anywhere around 15 to 20 lakhs per annum.
Still any queries? Okay, thank you, sir. Myself, J. Venkat Subbaradi, Associate Professor of Triple Department, Engineering College. Now, I take it to privilege to give brief report about the workshop. This workshop was meant to disseminate the knowledge in the field of IT sector. The duration of this workshop was 1 week. A session for a day was scheduled between 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. These sessions were handled by experienced speakers from the industry. On 6th March, day 1, session was on opportunities in the field of data science. Day 2 session was about importance of projects for career growth. Day 3 and day 4 sessions, AWS Cloud was discussed practically. Now today, introduction to DevOps has been delivered. I hope all participants have been benefited from this workshop. Then feedback link is shared in the chat box. I request all participants to submit feedback and attempt the quiz. Participation certificate will be sent to your registered mail within 1 week. Thank you, sir. Now I request Sri K. Harish Reddy to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Harish.
Good evening to yes, sir. Good evening to one and all. I am K. Harish Reddy, Assistant Professor of EEE. Take it a privilege to propose vote of thanks. I feel it privileged to thank each and everyone for attending this 1 week international level workshop on opportunities and challenges in IT sector, software mastery bootcamp. Unlock your potential during 6th to 11th March 2023. Organized by, please mute yourself. Organized by Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering and in association with Department of Emerging Technologies in Computer Science and Microcare Academy, Kurnool. First of all, I would like to thank our resource persons from Microcare Digital Solutions, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Microcare Academy, Kurnool, for dedicating their valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. Also, thank our Honorable Chairman, Sri P. Subbareddy Garu of G. Pullareddy Engineering College for supporting financially. Thank you, sir. I thank our principal, Dr. B. Srinivas Reddy Garu, for providing logistics. Thank you, sir. I thank our head of EEE department, Dr. K. Sri Gauri, and head of the ECS department, Dr. R. Praveen Sham, for his continuous support. Thank you, sir. I also thank to all the HODs, professors, in charges of various cells of our college and faculty. I thank to Dr. Abid Naimuddin, convener of this workshop, Dr. G. Venkat Subbareddy, co-convener, and A. Vishnuvardhan Reddy, co-convener, and all the organizing members of this workshop for their efforts in making this function a grand success. I thank all the participants for attending this workshop, and I thank those who supported directly and indirectly in making this workshop a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
From Microcare Academy side, we also want to take this opportunity and give a brief introduction about the Microcare Academy, how we started with the Microcare Academy, so that we can help new graduates so that they can achieve a opportunity and get a
Yeah, good evening, one and all. Myself, Akram Ali, Administrative Manager for Microcare Academy. Let me introduce about Microcare Academy. Microcare Academy is started in Kurnool in collaboration with Microcare Digital Solutions. We are integrated with a software company. Our founder is Sajjad Ali Khan, who is alumni of G. Pullareddy College, and he's the founder of Microcare Academy and director of Microcare Digital Solutions. He has having 13 years of experience in software development. We started our first batch in March 2022 for .NET full stack development with 8 students enrolled, trained for about 4 months. Yeah, the main aim of this academy is to build confidence and fill the skill gap, because from academics you have academics, but the industry is day-to-day updating. So we want to fill the skill gap and make you job ready. And we started our first course, .NET full stack development. Later, on the demand of students, we started AWS and DevOps. And afterwards, we have brought data science and software testing. These are the emerging technologies which are in demand and in the industry. So recently, we have conducted a workshop on data science. 3 days we have given workshop on data science, its opportunities. This data science course covers both data analytics and data science as well. So these are all the courses which we are providing, which are on the real time basis. And the main aim is to fill the skill gap. And we are also placed 15+ students in .NET full stack development recently in collaboration with Intellexa, Husys, and NetEnrich. These are the companies which our students have been placed. So our entire team is from the industry who are working, having 15+ of experience. This is a team, our entire team who is working in software field. So main aim is we want to give the real-time scenarios, real-time what the updates going on the industry. So we want to fill the skill gap to the students. So apart from this, we are also providing corporate training to some of the companies, helping the companies to develop their products, and helping the companies to get the good resources. These ways, we are also a corporate training organization and also helping the students in getting the placement. These are entire team who are working in the different organizations having vast experiences. This about Microcare Academy. So I'm very thankful for G. Pullareddy College for providing this opportunity to share our thoughts with the students, to share our experience and help the students to get their best in their career. This is about Microcare Academy. Thanks one and all. Thank you, and especially for the conveners and the co-conveners who helped them a lot to give this, deliver this objective and thoughts from the experienced person. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.